Hey everyone, Nick from Taos Fly Shop. As you can see, it's snowing here in New Mexico. I just got off the ski hill and nice to get a little moisture. Anyway, I wanted to talk about a rod that we're going to put on sale today on our website online. That's the Winston Air. This is one of my favorite rods. Unfortunately, it's being discontinued to come out. Fortunately and unfortunately, the new Air 2 is supposed to be an incredible rod. We haven't seen it yet, but one is on the way to the shop, so we're excited about that. But the Air will be discontinued, which means that it's going to go on sale. So good news for you. I want to just call out a few things about this rod. You know, the first thing, when you pick it up, you definitely feel, you give it the little shop wiggle test, you feel that it's a softer rod. Winston's really well known for that softer action. It's one of the things they've always done best. I think a lot of people tend to fall into this category of buying a rod based on what someone else says is good. I always tell people that picking a rod, it's kind of like nobody's making bad rods anymore. And so at this point, you kind of want to think like, what does your taste suit? What rod suits your taste? So I always tell people it's kind of like, well, do you like IPA or do you like Budweiser or whatever? I mean, it's personal preference. The Winston Air, you know, like the name says, it feels very light. It casts super smooth. It's not a total noodle by any means. I mean, it's got plenty of power. If you really need to gun it out there, it can do, you know, an indicator setup, dry droppers. It can fish the wind, all that kind of stuff. It's not just a dry fly rod, but it really does excel with fish and dries. But think about this when it comes to what you've been looking at with your own rods. If you've got a rod that's maybe feels real stiff or doesn't have a lot of life to it, and especially in short is not giving you a lot of feedback, you may want to think about trying a softer rod like an Air. You can also kind of look at your own casting stroke, and that may give you some feedback too. A lot of times, people that will like fast action rods have a kind of congested short stroke where they kind of do this kind of thing. Maybe it's wristy. And the person who has that stroke will oftentimes have what we call a tailing loop. So throughout the day, if you're fishing and you end up with little, what we call wind knots, but really they're casting knots, little overhand knots in your leader, that's probably the result of a tailing loop. And probably because you're kind of congested here with your stroke, maybe a little too wristy, that's probably the kind of cast that is going to like a faster, stiffer action rod. If you tend to have wider loops where you don't tend to get that pop, maybe you don't have a lot of accuracy. We get the dying cobra cast where instead of your line turning over nice, it kind of falls kind of like this. Maybe that's because your stroke's a little bit too elongated. You're not getting the kind of feedback from the rod, so you're losing line speed. If you fall into that category, this may be a rod that really speaks to you because this softer, slower action is going to really work well with that type of casting stroke. Even if you have all or none of the above of these things, you might find that this rod is just a really nice stick to add to your quiver when it comes to, like I say, fishing a dry fly. You know, just a rod that's going to give you a little bit more control and feel, and a rod that's going to help maybe with a little bit of presentation stuff for a little bit more difficult fish. So if you can, come by the shop, cast one of these. We're putting them on sale. Otherwise, just order one on the site. Trust me, you'll enjoy it.